The stars appeared strange from this distance. Captain Sarah Chen stood aboard the exploration vessel Pathfinder's bridge, gazing at space's infinite blackness on the viewing screen. Her team of 43 had journeyed for half a year, charting unexplored systems along humanity's outer edge. "Captain, our long-range sensors are detecting something unusual," Lieutenant Marcus Webb announced from his station. His excited tone made everyone turn. Sarah approached his workstation and examined the data. A vessel, massive, racing toward them at incredible velocity. "How massive?" she questioned. "3 times our size, possibly larger," Marcus answered. He pressed several keys and looked puzzled. "Captain, this isn't human technology. The power readings don't match anything in our records." Sarah's pulse quickened. Humanity had spent 50 years searching for alien life. They'd discovered lifeless planets, old ruins, and strange transmissions, but never a living alien society. Never a vessel like this one. "Everyone to stations," she commanded. Her tone remained steady despite her racing thoughts. "Power up defensive systems. Keep weapons neutral but stay prepared. Martinez, get a first contact message ready. Basic greetings in every Earth language plus math." The team responded swiftly. Everyone understood this moment's importance. First contact. The instant humanity would discover they weren't alone in existence. The alien vessel dropped from faster-than-light speed directly ahead. It was enormous, wrapped in dark metal that seemed to absorb starlight. Unusual markings glowed across its surface in colors Sarah had never witnessed. Both stunning and frightening. "They're reaching out to us," Communications Officer Chen announced. No family connection to the captain despite sharing names. "Sound only." "Play it," Sarah ordered. The sound through the speakers was rough and clicking, like insects scratching inside metal. Then the translation program activated, changing the alien noises into English. "Basic vessel, power down your equipment and get ready to be boarded. This territory belongs to the Vraxian Empire. You're intruding." Sarah glanced at her first officer, Commander James Park. His face showed what she felt. This wasn't the welcoming first contact humanity had imagined. "This is Captain Sarah Chen from the Earth vessel Pathfinder," she answered, maintaining a calm and professional voice. "We arrived peacefully. We had no knowledge this territory was claimed. We're explorers from Earth, taking our first trips beyond our home system. We intend no damage and no offense." "Quiet." Then the clicking voice came back, but now it sounded amused. That felt worse somehow. "Earth? We have no information about Earth. Your ship uses basic faster-than-light systems, version 2.3 generation engines according to our readings. You're a pre-contact race that somehow stumbled onto space travel." The voice stopped. "How amusing." "We reached faster-than-light travel 3 years back," Sarah said carefully. "We're still learning. If we've crossed into your space accidentally, we're sorry. We'll exit right away. You misread your circumstances, human," the alien voice stated. The clicking noises now resembled laughter. "The Vraxian Empire controls this entire region. You don't depart until we give approval. You'll disable your weapons, unlock your entry points, and let our boarding team teach you about correct behavior. Every race must understand their position in our empire." James whispered close to Sarah. "Captain, their weapons are powering up. Multiple targeting systems locked on us." Sarah's jaw clenched. First contact. Humanity's initial meeting with aliens, and they were aggressors. "We won't be boarded," Sarah declared clearly. "We're open to communication. We're ready to learn, but we won't hand over our ship to you. We've committed no crime. Your resistance is recorded." The Vraxian voice answered, now cold. "Maybe you require a demonstration of why every species submits to our empire." "Captain, they're attacking!" Marcus yelled. The ship shook. Warning systems screamed through every hallway. The lights blinked as power systems fought to adjust. "Damage assessment," Sarah called out, holding the command seat as another strike rocked the floor. "Direct strike to the medical section," James announced, his face white as he watched the casualty numbers scroll on his display. "Section 7 is losing air. Emergency doors closing." "Captain," his voice cracked. 17 dead. Medical personnel and 3 patients during surgery. 17 individuals. 17 of her team. Killed instantly because these aliens wanted to demonstrate a point. Sarah stared at the alien ship on the display. Fury burned in her core, intense and powerful. But she remained a captain, still accountable for the 26 individuals still living on her vessel. "Close all compartments. Emergency power to propulsion," she commanded. "Calculate a jump to Earth. Top velocity. They're contacting us again. Communications announced. Connected. That was a caution, human. The following strike will eliminate your engines. Yield now, or we'll claim your vessel as salvage and your team as captives. Sarah reached a choice. The type of choice that would either rescue her team or destroy them all. Lieutenant Webb, establish a direct link. Maximum strength. I want Earth to receive this. Connection established. Captain Sarah stood upright, looking straight at the display and the Vraxian ship beyond. This is Captain Sarah Chen from the Pathfinder to Earth Command. We've made first contact with an alien race called the Vraxian Empire. They attacked us without reason. They murdered 17 of my team. They want our surrender. She stopped, ensuring every word was distinct. Earth Command, these aliens believe we're fragile. They believe we'll submit because they possess larger vessels. They're mistaken. Captain, they're powering weapons once more, Marcus cautioned. Sarah disregarded him. She maintained her focus on the display and continued speaking. Earth Command, I'm sending all our scanner information on their vessel, their arms, their systems. Examine it, study it, because we refuse to submit. She breathed deeply. To the Vraxian Empire, I declare this. You just committed a grave error. You murdered 17 human beings who arrived peacefully. You attacked explorers who intended you no injury. Humans don't forget. Humans don't forgive, we'll return. And when we return, you'll discover that humanity submits to nobody. Stupid primitive, the Vraxian voice hissed. Your race will be destroyed beneath our empire. You'll serve or you'll perish. Jump engine ready, Marcus announced. Execute it, Sarah commanded. Bring us home. The Pathfinder ripped open space and vanished, abandoning the Vraxian ship isolated in darkness. Inside the alien craft, Contact Officer Zarain clicked his jaws in approval. He recorded his assessment to the ship's system with casual disinterest. Encountered basic species designation. Human from world Earth. Race reached elementary FTL flight through seeming accidental finding. Basic systems at least 50 years behind normal Empire standards. Race displays resistance typical of primitives who don't grasp their standing in the galactic order. Suggested response. Subjugation force of normal strength. 500 vessels should be adequately sufficient. This race will be absorbed into the Empire within one solar rotation. He finished the assessment and dismissed thoughts of the humans. They were another basic species in a galaxy crowded with them. The Vraxian Empire had dominated thousands of planets. Earth would be the same. Zethra couldn't know how mistaken he was. On Earth, in a bunker buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Richard Torres got Captain Chen's message. He heard her statements. He studied the scanner information. He watched the recording of the Pathfinder medical section exploding. 17 good individuals dying in flames and vacuum. Then he lifted his phone and placed a call he'd hoped he'd never require. This is Admiral Torres. Authorization sequence Alpha 77 Omega. Trigger protocol Shepherd's Watch. Alert all nations. First contact has happened. Hostile contact, I repeat, hostile contact. Worldwide, in hidden locations that officially didn't exist, illumination started turning on. Systems that had been waiting in standby for 50 years began to activate. Deep space monitoring posts that were meant to be watching for asteroids started tracking something completely different, and in-orbital construction yards that the population believed were constructing transport, craft and space platforms. Other vessels started to activate. Vessels that Earth had been constructing for 5 decades. Vessels created from technology that humanity had stated they discovered 3 years earlier. That was false. Humanity had discovered a destroyed alien device 50 years before. They had examined it, copied it, and discovered a frightening reality. The galaxy wasn't vacant. It was filled with life, and most of that life possessed weapons. So, humanity had readied in secrecy, in silence, constructing a defensive force that nobody knew existed. Every country contributing, every leadership maintaining the same secret because humanity had discovered something from their own violent past. Peace was valuable, but peace only existed when you possessed the power to protect it. The Vraxian Empire believed they had met a basic species that stumbled onto FTL flight. They believed Earth was defenseless. They believed incorrectly. Captain Sarah Chen returned the Pathfinder home 3 days afterward. The vessel was damaged, releasing air from numerous holes, operating on backup power. But she returned her team home. When she exited the vessel, Admiral Torres was present. He appeared aged and exhausted, but his gaze was firm. Captain Chen, you performed excellently, he stated. You provided us the alert we required. You provided us their technology patterns. You provided us everything we need to be prepared. Prepared for what, sir? Sarah questioned, though she suspected she understood the response. Prepared for conflict, Captain, because they're approaching. Our deep space monitors discovered their fleet 2 days back. 200 vessels heading for Earth. Sarah felt frozen. 200 vessels, sir. We killed 17 of their individuals. We can't equal those figures. Torres grinned, and it wasn't a pleasant grin. Captain, Earth has been readying for this since before your birth. Let me reveal something. He guided her to an observation platform. Through the glass, Sarah could observe orbital space above Earth, and what she witnessed stole her breath. Vessels, hundreds of vessels, enormous warships that overshadowed the Pathfinder, smooth and lethal, covered with weapons, vessels that shouldn't exist if humanity had only reached FTL 3 years prior. How? She breathed. 50 years, Captain. We've been constructing for 50 years. Every country working united. The biggest secret in human past. Torres observed the fleet. The Vraxians believe they're arriving to dominate a basic planet. Rather, they're about to find out what occurs when you threaten humanity. Sarah considered her team, the 17 who perished, the 26 who lived. She considered the Vraxian officer who had mocked humanity's resistance. Good, she stated softly. Let them arrive. Let them understand. Above Earth, the fleet kept growing as additional vessels rose from concealed construction yards. The Vraxian Empire was arriving to instruct humanity a lesson, but humanity was prepared to instruct them one instead. Fleet Admiral Korvac examined the holographic presentation with 4 of his 6 eyes. The basic world called Earth spun slowly ahead, appearing blue and green and entirely unprotected. Behind him, 200 Vraxian warships waited in arrangement, sufficient firepower to break a world's surface. This appears excessive, Junior Intelligence Officer Thrick remarked. She was young, her shell still displaying the vivid shades of youth. 200 warships for one basic planet. The assessment states they only reached FTL flight 3 years prior. Korvac clicked his jaws in what served as a Vraxian laugh. You've never performed subjugation assignment before, have you, Thrick? No, sir, this is my initial assignment. Then let me teach you. Korvac displayed the intelligence file on humanity. These primitives are ideal examples of why we dispatch overwhelming force even to fragile planets. Observe their political arrangement. The hologram changed to display Earth's surface split into various colored regions, hundreds of them. They're divided, Korvac proceeded, over 200 distinct nations. They battle each other regularly. Conflicts, territorial arguments, trade disagreements. They can't even unite their own race, much less resist the Empire. But fractured races are risky because they're unstable. Dispatch too few vessels and they might succeed by chance. Dispatch overwhelming force and they yield instantly. Thrick examined the information. It states here they possess nuclear arms, basic atomic division devices, precisely, risky enough to their own kind, ineffective to our protection. But desperate primitives perform desperate actions. 200 vessels guarantees they never become desperate. They observe us. They understand resistance is useless. They yield clean and straightforward. Korvac closed the hologram. We'll be finished here in a week. Normal subjugation procedures. Eliminate their military satellites. Show our firepower on an empty moon. And watch them plead to join the Empire. What about the vessel that fled? The Pathfinder? Korvac waved a limb dismissively. Contact Officer Zath Rain was too gentle. He only launched a warning strike. The humans understood this as a serious offense and escaped home to conceal. Typical primitive response. When they observe our complete fleet, they'll grasp the truth of their circumstances. Sir, the fleet is prepared to jump, the navigation officer announced. Perfect chart course straight to Earth orbit. Let's make this swift and return to civilized territory. I possess tickets to the Vex Opera next week that I don't want to forfeit. The 200 Vraxian warships tore openings in space and vanished, leaving the vacant space behind them quiet and motionless. They had no knowledge they were being observed, deep underneath the surface of Earth's moon in a location that didn't appear on any chart. Scanner arrays followed the Vraxian fleet approach. The information flowed instantly to Earth Command, where Admiral Torres stood before a huge tactical presentation. 200 vessels confirmed, the tracking officer announced. Arrival in Earth orbit predicted in 6 hours. Size comparison to our craft? Torres questioned. Their capital vessels are roughly 70% the dimension of our dreadnoughts. Smaller craft range from destroyer to cruiser class by our measurements. Total mass favors them by approximately 15%. Torres nodded slowly. 50 years of readiness came down to this instant. 50 years of every country on Earth working united on the biggest secret in human past. Years of constructing vessels in concealed orbital yards, instructing teams in simulators that officially didn't exist, creating weapons that were meant to be impossible, all based on one destroyed alien device and the frightening understanding it brought. Humanity wasn't isolated, and the galaxy was filled with hunters. "What's the condition of the fleet?" Torres questioned. "All 500 vessels are in position, sir. Maintaining in stealth orbit on the distant side of the moon. Teams are at combat stations. Arms are powered. Point protection grids are active. Fleet Admiral Chen is prepared for your command." Torres permitted himself a slight grin. Captain Sarah Chen had been elevated after returning the Pathfinder home. Now she led Earth's entire defensive fleet. Her brother had perished on the Pathfinder. Others had perished. The Vraxians were about to discover that humans recalled their fallen. "Sir, we're getting numerous communications from the surface," the communications officer announced. "Every news network on Earth is noting strange activity. They've noticed our vessels moving into position. They're questioning. Reveal the truth," Torres commanded. "After 50 years, it's time the inhabitants of Earth knew the reality. Transmit on all channels. Let everyone know what we've been readying for." Worldwide, television programs were stopped. Internet broadcasts cut to emergency messages. Phone displays lit up with priority alerts, and the identical message displayed everywhere in every language. "Citizens of Earth, this is Admiral Richard Torres of United Earth Command. For 50 years, your leaderships have maintained a secret. We aren't isolated in the universe. 50 years back, we discovered proof of alien life. Proof that revealed to us the galaxy was risky, so we readied every country working united, constructing vessels, instructing soldiers, establishing defenses. Today, that readiness will be examined. An alien empire called the Vraxians is nearing Earth. They eliminated one of our vessels. They murdered 17 of our individuals. They assume we are primitives who will yield without resistance. They are mistaken. Today, humanity stands united. Today, we reveal the galaxy that Earth submits to nobody." The transmission ended. For an instant, the planet was quiet. Then every city on Earth erupted in sound. Terror, fury, bewilderment, pride, all combined. But underneath it all, something else arose. Something the Vraxians had not expected. Unity. The divided countries of Earth, always disagreeing, always battling, suddenly recalled they were all human, all from the identical planet, all threatened by the identical enemy. In New York, millions of individuals poured into Times Square, shouting support for the fleet. In Tokyo, prayers were presented at shrines for the teams. In Mumbai, in Lagos, in Sao Paulo, in Moscow, in Sydney, the situation was identical. Humanity was frightened, but humanity was also furious, and humanity was finished being afraid. Admiral Torres observed the global reaction on numerous displays. He witnessed the terror, but he also witnessed something the Vraxians would never grasp. He witnessed a race that had climbed to the summit of their planet's food chain by refusing to surrender, by being too persistent to understand when they were defeated. "Sir, the Vraxian fleet is entering the solar system," the tracking officer declared. "They're not using stealth. They want us to observe them approaching." "Of course they do," Torres stated softly. "They want us to be terrified. They want us to yield before the initial strike is launched. Normal Imperial intimidation methods, but they committed one error." "What's that, sir?" "They assumed our terror would make us fragile. They don't grasp that sometimes terror makes humans risky." On the bridge of her flagship, the UES Defiance, Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen observed the Vraxian fleet emerge from faster-than-light travel. 200 vessels, huge and powerful, advancing with the confidence of an empire that had never lost a conflict. Her tactical officer counted them off. Confirmed 200 craft, 50 capital vessels, 100 cruisers, 50 destroyers. They're advancing into a normal encirclement arrangement around Earth. They're not even searching for dangers, her scanner officer added. No active scanners sweeping for concealed vessels. They believe we're defenseless. Sarah considered her brother. Considered the 17 others who had perished on the Pathfinder. Considered the Vraxian officer who had mocked humanity's resistance. "All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. Keep stealth positions. Let them become comfortable. Let them believe they've already succeeded. She stopped, then added softly, "And then we reveal them what humans do when someone injures our family." Human warships hung in the darkness behind Earth's moon, invisible to Vraxian scanners. Vessels that had been constructed with technology copied from that destroyed device 50 years prior. But humanity had not just duplicated alien technology. They had enhanced it, made it superior, made it deadlier, because humans were highly skilled at creating weapons. 1,000 years of constant conflict had instructed them that. Fleet Admiral Korvax observed Earth grow bigger on his display screen. Such a tiny planet, so unimportant. And yet the humans had made him bring 200 vessels. Waste of resources, but commands were commands. "Sir, we're in position," his navigation officer announced. "Orbital encirclement finished. The world is surrounded. Any indication of military resistance?" "Negative, sir. We're detecting their basic satellites, communications networks, space platforms that appear to be civilian research locations, but no warships, no protection platforms, nothing." Korvax clicked his jaws in approval. "As predicted, establish a link to the world. Let's complete this." "Link established, sir." Korvax straightened in his command seat and triggered the communication equipment. His voice would be transmitted to every corner of the world below. "Humans of Earth, I am Fleet Admiral Korvax of the Vraxian Imperial Navy. Your vessel, the Pathfinder, intruded in Imperial space. You displayed resistance when you should have displayed respect for this offense. We have arrived to instruct you the cost of resisting the Empire." He stopped for impact. "You observe our fleet. 200 warships surround your planet. You possess no protection, no escape. Your selection is straightforward. Yield to the Empire and be permitted to exist as a subject race, or resist and be eliminated. You possess 1 hour to yield. If you resist, we'll show our strength by eliminating your moon. Then we'll eliminate your cities until you plead for mercy." He closed the link and settled back in his seat. "Note the time, 1 hour. Then we begin with their moon. A few megatons of kinetic attack should make the point obvious. On Earth, billions of individuals heard Korvax's demand. Some panicked, some prayed, some simply waited to observe what would occur. But in the command centers, in the military bases, in the vessels orbiting behind the moon, humanity did not panic. Humanity readied. Admiral Torres stood before the global communication equipment. Every leader of every country on Earth was linked to this call. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, chancellors, all of them waiting for his statements. "The Vraxians have provided us 1 hour, Torres stated calmly. "They believe we'll use that hour to debate, to disagree among ourselves about whether to battle or yield. They believe we're too divided to reach a choice. They're mistaken. I need to understand, are we united? Do we stand together?" One by one, the leaders responded. The President of the United States, the Premier of China, the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of India, dozens of voices speaking various languages, but all stating the identical thing. "We stand together, we battle. Earth does not yield." Torres nodded slowly, "Then it's chosen. Admiral Chen, the fleet is yours. Reveal them what humanity is composed of." Behind the moon, Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen got the authorization. She observed her team, witnessed their resolve, witnessed their fury, witnessed their pride. "All vessels," she transmitted on the fleet channel, "ready to decloak. Launch all fighters, power all weapons, aim at every single Vraxian vessel simultaneously. When I provide the command, we strike them with everything we possess. Recall the Pathfinder. Recall our 17. Today, the galaxy discovers that you don't harm humanity." 500 human warships started to advance. Their stealth equipment deactivated, their weapons activated, their targeting systems locked onto every Vraxian craft in orbit. On the bridge of his flagship, Fleet Admiral Korvax was studying the subjugation procedure when his scanner officer suddenly screeched a warning. "Sir, contacts. Numerous contacts. Vessels decloaking behind the moon." "What? How many vessels?" The scanner officer's limb trembled as he read the information. 500 vessels, sir." 500. And their power readings by the void. They're showing power output 3 times our capital vessels. "Sir, that's impossible. The intelligence assessment stated they only reached FTL 3 years prior. They shouldn't possess this technology." Korvax stared at his presentation in disbelief. 500 human warships appeared on his display, advancing into arrangement with a precision that spoke of years of instruction. Not months, not even a few years. This was a fleet that had been readying for decades. Sir, they're reaching weapons lock. All their vessels are locking onto us simultaneously. That's impossible, Korvax whispered. The intelligence was mistaken. The intelligence was all mistaken. His communication officer's voice trembled as she spoke. Sir, we're getting a message from the human fleet. Connect it! A human woman appeared on the display screen. She wore a military uniform, her face firm and furious. Behind her, the bridge of a warship that appeared more sophisticated than anything the Vraxian Empire possessed. Fleet Admiral Korvax, she stated, her voice cold as frozen water. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You murdered my brother. You murdered 16 others on the Pathfinder. You arrived to my planet believing we were defenseless. You were mistaken. Korvax discovered his voice. This is impossible. Your race only reached FTL 3 years prior. You shouldn't possess this technology. You shouldn't possess these vessels. Sarah grinned, and it was a frightening grin. That's what we wanted you to believe. The reality. We discovered alien technology 50 years prior. We've been readying for this day ever since. We understood the galaxy was risky. We understood races like yours existed. So we constructed. We readied. We waited. And now you've provided us a reason to reveal you what we've been readying for. You deceived the entire galaxy. We studied from you, Sarah answered. We examined every race we could discover information about. We studied your methods, your plans, your arms, and we created everything specifically to oppose what you do. Our vessels are quicker. Our weapons strike harder. Our defenses are tougher. We spent 50 years studying how to defeat you. Korvax felt terror for the initial time in his long military career. 500 vessels, all more powerful than his own, all locked onto his fleet, all prepared to launch. What do you want? He questioned softly. Sarah's expression did not alter. You provided us 1 hour to yield. We're providing you 1 minute. Exit our territory. Return to your empire. Inform them that Earth is protected. Inform them that humanity does not submit. Inform them that if they arrive here again, we will not be merciful. She stopped. You possess 1 minute. Beginning now? The link closed. Korvax observed his fleet. 200 vessels against 500. Vessels that were outmatched in every area. He had arrived here anticipating an easy victory. Rather, he had walked into a trap 50 years in creation. Sir, commands? His first officer questioned softly. Voxak reached the hardest choice of his career. Fleet, this is Admiral Korvax. Deactivate weapons. Chart course back to Imperial territory. Maximum velocity, sir. We can't just that is a command. Korvax roared. We are outmatched. Withdraw now before they launch. The Vraxian fleet started to turn away from Earth, but they were too sluggish. Admiral Chen, Sarah's tactical officer, announced, the Vraxians are activating weapons on several vessels. They're planning to launch on our cities before they flee. Sarah's gaze went frozen. Aim at those vessels specifically. Launch. The human fleet opened up. Rockets streaked through space. Energy rays cut through the darkness. And 10 Vraxian vessels exploded in spheres of flame and debris. The rest of the Vraxian fleet jumped to FTL instantly, escaping Earth territory in disorder and panic. Sarah observed them depart. Then she established a link to Earth. This is Admiral Chen. The Vraxian fleet has withdrawn. Earth is protected. The enemy arrived to dominate us. Rather, they discovered that humanity protects its own. Worldwide, billions of individuals erupted in celebration. The jump from Earth to the nearest Imperial outpost required 3 days. 3 days of quiet on the Vraxian flagship, as Fleet Admiral Korvax sat in his command seat and stared at nothing. His team moved softly around him, speaking in murmurs, avoiding his look. They had withdrawn. The proud Vraxian Imperial fleet had fled from primitives, from humans who were meant to be fragile and divided. Vessels that shouldn't exist had appeared from nowhere. Arms that shouldn't be achievable had eliminated 10 of his craft in seconds. And most terrible, the humans had permitted them to depart. Had displayed mercy when they could have eliminated the entire fleet. That mercy felt more terrible than any defeat. Junior Intelligence Officer Thrick approached carefully. Her shell had lost its vivid shades during the journey. Now she appeared as dull and gray as the older officers. Sir, we're nearing the outpost. They're requesting our scanner records of the Earth engagement. Transmit them everything, Korvax stated softly. They need to understand what we discovered, what the humans truly are. The records were sent. 30 minutes afterward, Korvax got an urgent message. Priority Alpha, the greatest level of Imperial communications. Fleet Admiral Korvax, you are commanded to continue instantly to the Imperial home planet. You will display your discoveries directly to the High Council. Don't speak to anyone else about Earth or the humans. This matter is now classified at the greatest level. Korvax closed the message and laughed bitterly. Of course, it was classified. The Empire couldn't let other races know that a supposedly basic planet had frightened off an Imperial fleet. It would make them appear fragile. The reality was more terrible. They were fragile, at least compared to humanity. The journey to the Imperial home planet required another week. During that time, Korvax studied the scanner records over and over, attempting to grasp how he had missed the indicators, how the intelligence had been so mistaken. The human vessels were not assembled from recent findings. They were advanced, well-created, perfectly maintained, the type of vessels that required decades to create and construct. Their methods were not the wild desperation of a race battling for survival. They were calculated, exact, the result of extensive instruction and planning. Everything about the meeting screamed readiness. The humans had been prepared. Not just prepared, but specifically prepared for the Vraxian Empire. Their arms, their defenses, their methods, all created to oppose Vraxian technology. How long had they been observing? How much did they understand? The questions troubled Korvax as his damaged fleet limped toward the home planet. On Earth, the celebrations proceeded for days. Every city on the world was alive with individuals dancing in the streets, singing songs of victory, celebrating humanity's first contact with alien life and humanity's first military victory against an alien danger. But in the command centers, the mood was more cautious. Admiral Torres stood before a holographic presentation displaying the galaxy. Red dots noted Vraxian space. It was huge. Hundreds of systems, thousands of planets, and Earth sat right on the edge of it all. A tiny blue dot in a sea of red. We succeeded in the battle, Torres stated to the assembled military leaders, but we haven't succeeded anything else. The Vraxians possess thousands of vessels, millions of soldiers, resources from hundreds of dominated planets. We revealed them we can battle, but we also revealed them we're a danger. The question is, what will they do now? General Louis of the Chinese Space Force examined the presentation. They possessed three choices. They could abandon us, decide we're too risky to battle. They could negotiate, attempt to establish diplomatic relations, or they could return with overwhelming force to remove the danger we represent. Which would you do? Torres questioned. If you were them, Louis considered, I would examine us, study everything I could, discover our vulnerabilities, then I would construct a fleet specifically created to oppose our advantages. It's what we did to them. So we possess time, Torres stated. The question is, how much time and what do we do with it? Fleet Admiral Chen, who had been silent until now, spoke up. We do what we've always done, sir. We ready. We construct more vessels. We instruct more teams. We reach out to other races in the galaxy and discover allies. And we ensure that if the Vraxians return, we're prepared for them. Agreed, Torres stated. But there's another issue we need to address. The rest of Earth, the individuals deserve to understand the reality, all of it. Not just about the Vraxians, but about everything we've been concealing for 50 years. Around the table, leaders nodded slowly. The secret was revealed. There was no returning. Full disclosure, Torres commanded. Release all the information about the destroyed device, the technology we created, the fleet we constructed, everything. The inhabitants of Earth need to grasp what we're facing. Over the following weeks, humanity studied the reality. Studied about the device that destroyed in the Pacific Ocean in 1975. Studied how every country had agreed to maintain its secret and combine their resources. Studied about the concealed construction yards, the secret instruction locations, the arms creation programs that had consumed trillions of dollars. Some individuals were furious about the deception, but most grasped if the leaderships had declared the finding of alien technology and the existence of potentially hostile alien races, panic would have eliminated human civilization from within. The secret had been required, and the secret had rescued them. But now new questions arose. What else was out there? How many alien races existed? Were they all hostile like the Vraxians? Or were there potential friends among the stars? Admiral Torres authorized the construction of a new type of vessel. Not warships, but exploration craft. quick, heavily armed for self-protection, but created primarily for one purpose: creating contact with other races, studying about the galaxy, discovering allies. Because humanity had studied an important lesson from the Vraxian meeting, they were not prepared to stand isolated against an empire that controlled hundreds of planets. They required friends, partners, other races who might observe value in an alliance with Earth. The initial of these new vessels, the UEA's Ambassador, launched 3 months after the Vraxian withdrawal. Its mission: chart the nearby systems, create contact with any other races it discovered, and collect intelligence about the greater galactic community. Captain James Park, elevated after his service on the Pathfinder, led the Ambassador. He stood on the bridge as his vessel cleared Earth's orbit and readied to jump to the initial unexplored system. "Chart course for the Kepler 442 system," he commanded. "Let's observe who else is out there." The Ambassador vanished into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's hopes for a more peaceful future. Behind them, Earth proceeded to ready for conflict. On the Vraxian home planet, Fleet Admiral Korvax stood before the High Council. 12 of the most powerful beings in the Empire, their old shells wrapped in ceremonial markings, their eyes cold and calculating. "Explain," High Counselor Vexthal commanded. His voice carried the weight of 1,000 years of imperial authority. "Explain how you lost 10 vessels to a basic race. Explain how you withdrew from a planet that our intelligence indicated was divided and fragile." Korvax maintained his head high. He would not display vulnerability even in failure. The intelligence was mistaken. "High Counselor, completely mistaken. The humans are not basic. They are not divided. They have been readying for contact with our empire for at least 50 years. "Impossible," another counselor stated. "Our scouts reported they only reached FTL Flight 3 years prior." "That was a deception," Korvax answered. He triggered a holographic presentation displaying the scanner records from the battle. "Observe their vessels. This is not technology created in 3 years. This is technology refined over decades. Their methods display extensive instruction. Their arms are specifically created to oppose our defenses. They understood we were approaching. They understood how we would battle, and they readied accordingly." The Council observed the records in quiet, observed 500 human vessels appear from nowhere, observed them reach simultaneous targeting locks on every Vraxian craft, observed 10 Imperial vessels perish in the opening attack. "How is this achievable?" Vexthal whispered. "How could a pre-contact race understand about our empire?" "About our technology?" "I don't understand," Korvax admitted. "But I possess a theory. I assume they discovered something." "Old technology. A destroyed vessel.